Listen close in this circle, because the air can turn sour in one breath, and the wrong smell can lead something straight to your door. That smell is warm vinegar tonight. If it drifts in and dogs go quiet, keep your hands off the latch. Do not open up. Romy's tricycle headlight died at the gate right when the tapping started on the roof. Tick, tick, tick. The dogs under the stairs lifted their heads, but no bark came out. Inside, a sealed vinegar jar sat on the table. No cloth was loosened, no string was cut. Still, the whole house smelled like vinegar was boiling. The front door latch lifted a finger's width, then settled back down, like a hand testing a rule. By dawn, a goat was missing from the pen. The rope was cut clean. The mud showed no tracks leading out, only 3 deep finger marks by the steps. Romy stared at the empty pen and swallowed hard. He made money by hauling fish baskets at night. His father was sick and waiting on a clinic bill. A missing goat meant lost food and a neighbor's anger, and Romy could not afford more trouble. This story comes from the Philippines, from places like Capiz, where elders still whisper about the Aswang. When the air smells like vinegar, do not open the door. Auntie Lila arrived after sunrise with a rosary on her wrist and salt in her pocket. She poured a thin line across the threshold and tied garlic above the door. "Keep the line," she said. "Keep your mouth closed. No answers, even if the voice sounds right." Romy nodded, because the fish buyer in town still expected baskets before noon, and his father's clinic bill did not wait. That afternoon, the barangay hall posted a missing notice. A boy named Paolo, gone for 2 nights. Captain Pio told people to shout names if they saw him. Romy swallowed hard and drove home, lips pressed tight. Night came, and the smell followed. Near midnight, warm vinegar filled the house again. The dogs went stiff. The tapping returned. Tick, tick, tick. A man's voice spoke just outside the door. "Romy, open. The basket is leaking." Romy did not move. The voice shifted into Aya's voice, thin and crying. "Kuya, open." Aya, Romy's 13-year-old sister, flinched at her own name. Romy stepped in front of her and raised a finger for silence. A wet breath slid along the wall like someone smelling the wood. The garlic swayed once. Then everything stopped, like the night decided to wait. At dawn, a chicken stood in the yard, alive but frozen. 3 finger marks sat on the fence deeper than before. Rule: keep the door shut and never answer. Cost: missing livestock and missing sleep. Change: the smell comes back stronger each night. On the 3rd night, Captain Pio asked Romy to deliver medicine to a house near the fields. Romy drove anyway, because saying no was not free. Auntie Lila tied a small bundle of garlic, salt, and ash to Romy's wrist with red thread. "Hold the bundle," she said. "Do not talk to the dark." Halfway down the lane, the vinegar smell hit hard, even though Romy carried no vinegar. The tapping began above the tricycle roof. Romy slowed without meaning to. The tapping sped up fast, like it was pleased. Tick, 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 Tick! A shape crossed the road and stopped at the headlight beam. A big dog, wet fur, ears too straight. Its eyes watched flat and calm, like a person behind glass. Romy kept rolling forward, steady. The dog turned its head and followed him with those eyes until the tricycle passed. At the medicine house, Romy left the bag on a stool by the door and stepped back. A hand reached out fast and grabbed it. The fingers were long, and the nails were too clean. Romy ran back to the tricycle. The engine coughed and died. Above him, 3 narrow dents appeared on the roof metal, like heels pressed down hard. He pushed the tricycle until it caught again and drove home, with salt stuck to his palms. The next day, Romy found a vinegar bottle behind the sari-sari store, sitting in shade like it was left for him. It had a small scratch on the glass, the same scratch as the bottle his father used to carry. Romy picked it up. The cap was tight. The seal was unbroken. Still, the bottle was warm, like it had been held in a hand for a long time. Romy carried it home and set it on the table without opening it. Auntie Leela stared at it like it was a live thing. "It leaves the smell where you will step," she said, "a trail for your life." The search turned into bait. At sunrise, Paulo's mother screamed outside the hall until her voice broke. Captain Pio gathered men for a night search in the sugar cane. "Call out," Captain Pio said. "Shout names. We need answers." Auntie Leela's face tightened. "Names are invites," she warned. "A closed mouth is the best help." Captain Pio ignored it. That night in the cane, the vinegar smell rolled in, thick enough to sting eyes. Tin cans on string rattled once, then went silent. Captain Pio shouted, "Paulo!" A boy's voice answered from right behind him. "Captain," it said, small and scared. Captain Pio spun. No boy stood there. The tapping started in the air itself, hopping cane to cane, speeding up as if something moved closer. One man screamed and dropped his flashlight. In the spinning beam, a pale face flashed once, smiling, then vanished. Romy grabbed Captain Pio's sleeve and dragged him back over a salt line they had poured. The moment the captain's foot crossed, the tapping stopped, and the smell thinned like it lost interest. Rule: do not throw names into the dark. Cost: the search became a trap for the searchers. Change: voices can be borrowed, and the cane can hide moving steps. Back home, Romy found the vinegar jar on the table untied and half empty. No one in the house had touched it. The string lay cut neat as the goat rope. Auntie Lila turned the jar upside down. No liquid fell. "It drank it," she said. Vinegar was not a shield. Vinegar was a trail. Hold still and keep your voices low. If the air turns sour near you, don't look toward the dark corners yet. That night, the smell rose from under the table, not from outside. A thin, wet line shone between the bamboo slats, creeping toward the door. Auntie Lila poured salt on the line. The salt hissed once and clumped, and the wetness stopped moving. The tapping came from inside the cupboard where the vinegar had been kept. Tick, tick, tick. A voice spoke from outside in Romi's father's weak voice. "Romi, help!" Romi's knees bent as if his body tried to stand on its own. Auntie Lila gripped his arm. "No answers," she whispered. The voice slid into Aya's voice. "Kuya, open." Aya squeezed her eyes shut and held her breath until her face went red. A slow scrape dragged across the door, nail on wood, patient. Then 3 quick taps. Tick, tick, tick. By morning, 3 wet finger marks sat on the well rim, lined up like a signature. Auntie Lila did a new rule test at noon. She made Romi lock every door and window, then stand outside the house, alone for 1 minute, just to see what the air would do. Romi stepped into the yard. The sun was bright. Neighbors hung laundry. A rooster crowed. Then right by Romi's ear, the tapping started. Tick, tick, tick. No roof was above him. The vinegar smell rose from the dirt around his feet, even though no bottle was open. Romi stepped back toward the door without running. The latch was still locked, but it lifted by itself, a small twitch like a wink. Romi did not touch it. He backed away until Auntie Lila pulled him inside by his sleeve. Rule: vinegar is the trail, and silence is the lock. Cost: even daytime feels unsafe. Change: it can bring the smell to you, not just follow it. Auntie Lila made a plan with plain rules. No vinegar left anywhere, no names spoken into night air, and no doors opened to voices. She also brought out an old stingray tail whip, a buntot pagi, and hung it near the door. She did not swing it at anyone. She just tapped it on the floor 3 times, slow, like a warning that answered the tapping outside. That evening, Captain Pio came to apologize, voice small. "People blame me," he said. "They say I made it worse." Auntie Lila did not soften. "You did," she said. "Now help fix it." Captain Pio nodded once. "Tell me what to do." "Stop the shouting," Auntie Lila said, "and stop letting people stand in doorways calling loved ones into the dark." Captain Pio swallowed. "Then where do we go?" Auntie Lila pointed toward the river. "Across," she said. "Not forever, just to break the rhythm." Before they left for the river, Captain Pio asked for one more try that did not involve sugar cane or shouting in the fields. At dusk, people gathered in the plaza with candles. The chapel bell hung above them, dark against the last light. Paulo's mother stood in front, hands shaking around a rosary. Captain Pio cleared his throat. "We pray," he said. "Then we call. We called him home." Auntie Lila stepped close to the captain and spoke low. "Pray, yes," she said, "but no calling." Captain Pio's jaw tightened. He nodded like he agreed, then reached for the bell rope anyway. The rope was wet, not rain wet, warm wet, like it had been held. The vinegar smell drifted through the plaza, light at first, then thicker, turning heads. Dogs at the edge of the crowd whined and backed away. Even the geckos on the chapel wall went silent. Paulo's mother lifted her candle higher. "Paolo," she started, voice breaking. Auntie Lila snapped the bunto paji against the ground once. The crack was sharp, like a warning that did not need words. Paulo's mother clamped her mouth shut, tears spilling down. From the bell tower above, a boy's voice called sweet and clear. "Mama," it said, "right here." The crowd turned their faces up. Captain Pio stepped forward, eyes wide, and shouted, "Paulo, where?" Auntie Lila grabbed his collar and yanked him back. "No," she said, one hard word. The chapel candles flickered as if a hand passed over them. 3 candles went out in a row, one after another, leaving 3 thin trails of smoke rising straight up. Then the bell rang once, by itself. Not a full ring, just one heavy note. The vinegar smell thickened until people gagged and covered their noses. A few stepped backward off the plaza, stumbling like their feet forgot the ground. Romy pulled Aya close and kept his mouth closed. He did not look up again. The smell thinned as fast as it came. The geckos started clicking again, like the world restarted. Captain Pio's face went pale. He wiped his mouth with his hand, like he could erase the words he almost threw into the air. "Across the river," Auntie Lila said to him, voice flat. "Stop the vigil. Stop the calling. Let the night pass without your voice. Rule. Prayer is fine, but names are bait. Cost. The whole plaza became a stage. Change. It can ring bells and throw voices from above." Before dark, Romy, Auntie Lila, and Aya drove toward the river to stay with an uncle across the water. At the first bend, a woman stood in the road, hair covering her face. When she lifted her head, it was Paulo's mother. Her mouth smiled, but her eyes did not change. "Romy," she said softly, "Paulo is calling. You can hear him." From the rice field, a boy cried, "Mama!" Aya leaned forward without thinking. Auntie Lila grabbed Aya's wrist before Aya could speak and pulled her back hard. Auntie Lila flicked salt onto the ground, making a thin white line. The woman stopped at the salt, then spoke in a man's rough voice. "Open and bring the girl." Romy drove around the line and did not look back. At the ferry, the boatman sniffed the air. "No vinegar," he said. "It's not ours," Auntie Lila answered. Then it followed, the boatman said, and pushed off fast. Halfway across, the vinegar smell rose from the water. The boat rocked once, then again. Under the surface, something moved steady, tracking the hull. 3 bubbles rose in a neat line beside the boat, then stopped. When the boat scraped the far bank, the smell thinned like a rope cut. The tapping stopped. Rule: no names, no invites, no opening. Cost: it can wear familiar faces. Change: the river slows it, but it can still follow close enough to shake the boat. They slept in the uncle's concrete house with 2 locks and a salt line inside the door. Near midnight, the vinegar smell slipped under the door anyway. The uncle's dog stared at a corner, tail wagging once, then whined like someone it loved had arrived. 3 wet marks appeared on the wall, one below another. Not drips, prints. A whisper came from the kitchen doorway. Aya. Romy stepped in front of Aya without speaking. Auntie Lila set a bowl of rice and salt at the kitchen entrance, a small offering that was also a boundary. The dog strained at its collar toward the kitchen, nails scraping the floor. Auntie Lila held the buntot pagi and tapped it once, loud enough to startle the dog. The dog stopped whining, then shook like waking up. The wet handprint faded, slow, like a stain being pulled back into the wall. Morning did not bring relief. The vinegar smell clung to Romy's clothes. Even after washing, the trail did not wash off. At dawn, Captain Pio arrived, pale and fast. "Paolo is back," he said. "Alive, quiet." He points. "Points where?" Auntie Lila asked. Captain Pio swallowed. "To Romy's house," he said. "He says the sour smell came from there." Auntie Lila brought Romy back across the river that afternoon. Aya stayed with the uncle. "Less voice, less risk," Auntie Lila said. Behind the health center, a balete tree twisted with roots like arms. Auntie Lila poured 3 small piles of salt at its base. Captain Pio arrived with Paolo and Paolo's mother. Paolo's eyes looked empty until he saw Romy's red thread bundle. Paolo pointed at Romy's pocket. "The bottle," he said, flat. Romy emptied his pockets onto the dirt. Coins, salt, the palm leaf. Then a small glass bottle rolled out and hit the ground. Vinegar, sealed, warm. Romy's hands rose, empty. "That wasn't there," he said, and forced his mouth shut after the one sentence. Auntie Lila used the palm leaf to roll the bottle toward the balete roots. The moment the glass touched the roots, the air turned sharp with vinegar. The tapping started above, in the leaves. Tick, tick, tick. A shape shifted in the branches. For one heartbeat, a plain human face showed, almost kind. Then it smiled too wide, and the face slid back into shadow. Captain Pio lifted his stick. "Who?" Auntie Lila slapped his arm down. "No calls!" she snapped. Auntie Lila poured a salt circle around the vinegar bottle by the roots. She set a bowl of rice and salt just outside the circle. Then she spoke the rule once, slow, so every mouth heard it. "When the air smells like vinegar, keep the door shut and keep your mouth closed." The vinegar bottle fogged from the inside, like someone held it. The tapping sped up for one moment, then slowed again, thinking. A voice came from the tree in Romy's father's weak voice. "Romy, come home." Romy's lips trembled, but he did not answer. The voice tried Aya's voice next, crying. "Kuya, open." Paolo's mother covered her mouth with both hands and shook, trying not to speak. The bottle cracked with a thin line down the glass. The vinegar smell burst stronger, then stayed trapped inside the salt circle like a wall. A low hiss came from the tree, angry and hungry. Something dropped from the branches and landed just outside the circle. A wet black feather. No chicken in the barangay had feathers like that. Auntie Lila pushed the feather into the salt circle with the palm leaf. The feather curled as if it burned, and the vinegar smell thinned, slow. The tapping stopped. Paulo blinked like waking and looked at his mother, confused but present. Captain Pio exhaled too loud, then clamped his mouth shut again. Evening came with tired bodies and no clean win. The Aswang was not caught. The rule only held a line. Romy walked home with Auntie Lila in silence. At the threshold, 3 grains of salt had shifted a finger's width, as if something tested it and smiled. Romy's pocket felt heavy. He reached in and pulled out a small bottle. Vinegar. Warm, sealed. Same scratch on the glass. Aya stood in the doorway, safe for now, eyes wide. Auntie Lila set the bottle on the table without opening it. "Now you know," she said. "It can carry the trail in your pocket." Outside, the cane rustled with no wind. Then very close, roof, wall, or under the table, 3 taps sounded, soft and patient. Tick, tick, tick. So if you ever smell warm vinegar where no pot is boiling, keep still and keep your door shut, because the proof can sit right in your pocket, sealed and warm, waiting to be opened.